Isabel had always hated Monday mornings, but this one felt heavier than usual. She sat on the bus with her headphones in, pretending to be interested in music she wasn't even listening to. Her days had become predictable: work, home, sleep, repeat. No excitement, no surprises, no unexpected reasons to smile. That changed the morning he stepped onto the bus. His name was Adrian. Isabel didn't know that yet. All she noticed was the quiet confidence he carried. Not arrogant, just calm. The kind of calm she wished she had. He sat 2 seats away from her. Their eyes met briefly, but long enough for her stomach to tighten in a way she didn't understand. By the next stop he was gone. She thought she'd never see him again, but life had different plans. 3 days later, Isabel walked into the small community library near her apartment. She didn't go there often, but something pulled her in that day, and there he was. The same man from the bus, standing in front of the bookshelf flipping through a poetry book. He glanced up, their eyes met again, and this time he smiled, a gentle, kind smile that made her look down almost instantly. He said quietly, walking closer. She nodded. "Hi, do you like poetry?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said. "Depends on the day." "Well," he replied, showing her the book, "maybe today's a poetry day for both of us." They talked for minutes that felt like seconds, about books, about the city. About nothing important, yet everything important. Before leaving he said, "I hope we meet again." Smiled but didn't respond. She was afraid to hope they met again, not by accident. He started visiting the library more often, and Isabel found herself doing the same. Conversations slowly became longer, then came the first walk home together, the first shared coffee. The first little joke they both remembered for days. Adrian wasn't loud, bold, or flashy. He was steady, comfortable. Someone who listened, someone who noticed. One evening, as they walked home, he said softly, "Do you ever feel like you meet someone and somehow they make the world quieter?" Isabel froze for a moment. "Yes," she whispered. They didn't talk much after that, but silence between them wasn't uncomfortable anymore. Months passed, they spent more time together than apart. He became part of her routine, but in the best way. The message she woke up to, the voice she waited to hear at night. The person she shared every little detail with. She didn't say she was falling in love. She didn't need to. He could feel it in the way she looked at him, and he was falling too. Whenever she laughed, he memorized the sound. Whenever she talked, he memorized her expressions. Whenever she walked beside him, he slowed his steps so they always moved together. He cared deeply. Adrian had a secret he hadn't told Isabel yet because he was afraid it would change everything. One evening, as they sat on a bench near a quiet river, he took a deep breath and said, "Leaving the country in 2 months." Heart dropped. "For how long?" she asked. "I don't know yet." She felt the ground shift under her. Everything she built with him suddenly felt fragile. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" she whispered. "Because I didn't want to lose what we had," he said. "I didn't want you to pull away." He didn't respond. She couldn't. The air between them felt cold for the first time. The days after Adrian's confession felt heavier than any Isabel had known. They still talked, still met, still laughed sometimes. But there was a quiet fear beneath every moment now. Whenever he held her hand, she felt the countdown ticking. Whenever she looked at him, she wondered what his face would look like months from now. When memories began to fade, one evening she asked, "Do you think we can survive long distance?" He hesitated, not because he didn't want to try, but because he was afraid of promising what he wasn't sure he could keep. "I want to," he told her honestly. "I don't know what life will look like when I get there." Isabel nodded slowly. She appreciated honesty even when it hurt. But the truth was, she had never loved someone this deeply before. She had never feared losing anyone the way she feared losing him. And it terrified her. The last day came too quickly. Part of Isabel wished he would cancel the trip. Another part of her wished she could be strong enough to let him go without falling apart. At the airport, they sat together in a quiet corner, trying to act normal. Adrian watched her fingers tremble slightly, and he held her hand tighter. "You don't have to pretend you're okay," he said softly. "Not," she whispered, "and I don't know how to be." Pulled her closer until her head rested on his chest. He didn't speak. He didn't know how to. When boarding time was called, Isabel stood still. She didn't want to move. She didn't want to watch him walk away. Adrian cupped her face gently. "Isabel, if distance ever becomes heavy, if silence ever scares you, promise me you'll tell me." She nodded, though her throat felt tight. "And promise me something else," he added. "What?" "Don't stop living your life because I'm not in it physically. Don't shrink your world waiting for me." She couldn't speak. Tears did. Instead, he kissed her forehead, not passionately, not desperately, just softly, like a promise. Then he whispered, "I'll come back." He left just like that. Her world felt quieter, too quiet. Long distance was not romantic. It was hard. It was lonely. It was full of silence and unanswered messages and arguments over nothing. Time zones stretched them thin. Some days they talked for hours. Other days, she waited all day for a reply that came at midnight when she was already falling apart. He was busy. She was hurting. One night, after waiting for his video call that never came, Isabel wrote a message she'd be avoiding for weeks. "Maybe we're trying to hold something that distance is already breaking." She stared at it for minutes before sending it. He replied the next morning, "I don't want to lose you." The message after that broke her. "But I don't know how to keep you either." She cried quietly, alone, in a room that suddenly felt too small. They didn't officially break up. They didn't officially stay together. They just drifted. A slow, painful unraveling of something beautiful. A year passed. Isabel healed slowly, painfully, but truthfully. She learned to live without the sound of his voice in her mornings, She learned to laugh again. She learned that heartbreak doesn't kill you, it just changes your shape. Then on a rainy afternoon, her phone buzzed with a message she never expected. I'm back in the city. Her heart froze. She didn't respond right away. 3 hours later, another message came. I want to see you if you'll let me. Sat on her bed, staring at the screen. She wasn't the same woman he left. She was stronger now, more grounded, less afraid. She typed, where are you? Minutes later, the old library. Her breath caught. Their beginning, their place. She went, not running, not shaking, just ready. When she walked into the library, Adrian stood by the same bookshelf where they first spoke. He looked older, tired, but when his eyes met hers, something warm flickered. He stepped closer. You look different, he said softly. I had to grow, she replied. I'm sorry I wasn't here to see it. They stood inches apart, the space between them filled with everything unsaid. You came back, she whispered. I never forgot you, he replied, not even for a day. Library felt the same, yet everything about them had changed. Adrian stood in front of Isabelle, studying her gently, not with longing but with respect. He could feel her strength before she even spoke. I didn't come back to confuse you, he said quietly. I came back because I've never been sure about anything in my life except you. Heart stung not from pain but from years of holding feelings she never released. Adrian, I waited for you. For a long time, she admitted. I told myself, you returned, that things would be the same, but they weren't, and I had to learn to live without you, swallowed hard, and I hate that, he whispered. I hate that I made you feel alone. I hate that I disappeared in the moments you needed me most. She looked down, not out of sadness but out of old memories resurfacing. Distance broke us, she said. So did silence. Adrian stepped closer carefully, slowly, as if approaching something delicate. I know, he said. I'm not here to pretend that I didn't fail. I did, but Isabelle, I came back because I realized something. What? That life wasn't better without you, it was emptier. His chest tightened, he continued. I traveled, I worked, I grew, but every milestone felt incomplete. Every room felt like it was missing its warmest light, and every time I tried to move on, your name stayed. He paused, voice low and honest. I don't want to ask for you back, I want to earn you back. Breath caught. No man had ever spoken to her this simply, this truthfully. They left the library together, walking through the familiar streets, but this time there was no rushing. No holding hands immediately, no jumping back into what once was. They talked. About where things went wrong, about where things could go right, about who they had become in each other's absence. Adrian listened more than he spoke. Isabelle spoke more bravely than ever before. When they reached the park, the same one where he once photographed her, they stopped. It's strange, she said softly. This feels like the first time, not the second. Nodded. That's because it is the first time. We're not who we were before. A gentle wind passed between them. Leaves rustled like soft applause. Isabelle, he said, voice warm and steady, I don't want to repeat our past. I want a new story. One where we choose each other consciously, not because it's romantic, but because it's right. She smiled, small, unsure, but genuine. And what if I'm afraid? She asked. He took a tiny step closer. Then I'll walk at your pace. She looked into his eyes. For the first time in months, she saw no confusion, no doubt, just clarity. Adrian, she whispered, I never stopped loving you. I just stopped expecting you. His chest tightened as if her words reached the deepest part of him. Then let me give you something new to expect, he said gently. Consistency, effort, presence, not promises I can't keep you but actions I will. Her eyes softened. Okay, she said quietly, try. Let's go back. Let's start over. Just let's try honest, human, real. Adrian reached out his hand, not grabbing, not insisting, just offering. Isabelle looked at it for a moment, then she placed her hand in his. And something inside both of them aligned again, not perfectly, not magically, but truthfully. Days turned to weeks. They took their time, slow messages. Slow meetings, slow forgiveness. Adrian showed up consistently. Coffee dates where he asked about her day, evening walks where they shared fears without shame, quiet mornings where he listened without trying to fix everything. He didn't rush her healing, he respected it. And Isabelle, now stronger, calmer, wiser, loved differently too. She communicated, she set boundaries. She told him when she was scared instead of pretending she wasn't. Their love wasn't dramatic anymore, it wasn't chaotic, it was peaceful. And one evening, months later, as they watched the city lights from a rooftop, Adrian looked at her and knew. Glad we broke, he said suddenly. She turned to him, surprised. Why? Because now we know how to hold each other better. Isabelle smiled deeply, safely. And we won't break again, she said. He replied softly. We won't. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He kissed the top of her hair. The city lights glowed beneath them, but neither noticed. They had found home again, not in a place, not in a moment, but in each other.